So, who am I? So, my name is Rainer Krause. I'm the Managing Director of Elo Digital Australia and New Zealand. Our team are looking after everybody pretty much from the time zone New Zealand to Horn of Africa. So that is pretty much the area we're responsible for. And in the north, we're going really up to China. All around, I've been told I'm a good bloke. Andrew Windsor is our Perth-based staff, one of our Perth-based staffs, and he is a records management consultant and has many years of experience working with ELO, but as well with records management per se. Lastly, he was in charge of the successful integration of ELO at the Mindarie Regional Council, where we were lucky to be asked to replace Trim. He's as well our business development manager, mainly for the time zones of South Australia and WA. And of course, he's even a better bloke than I am because he's much harder working. This session will as well be recorded so that everybody who either has challenges with connection bandwidth or those who haven't been able to make it but have registered, we will send out the link for the recording, which we will put up onto our YouTube channel. After about 2 days, we will have completed the closed caption work. So that means as well that everybody who is hearing impaired may be able to really follow our presentation with closed captions. A company overview. We are a global company. ELO is in over 40 countries. We have over 600 staffs and more than 1 million users. That calls us really a global company with Australian expertise, because the Australian team is a fully fledged team. So we have everything from consultants to developers to support and everything else you require. And if we can't do something, then we have a very large group of certified business partners who are all over Australia and New Zealand, with multiple partners in WA and of course as well in Victoria and New South Wales, covering the eastern time zones. Worldwide, we got over 30,000 live installations, and we got more than 400 business partners. I believe this may already be an outdated number because we just got a few notifications over the weekend, last weekend, that new business partners have joined us. Worldwide, we have very large customers: Lufthansa, Mercedes-Benz, Airbus Industries, etc., etc. Nonetheless, ELO is a very scalable system. And when we're looking at Australia and New Zealand, we have been incorporated in 2005. So indeed, August this year, we're celebrating 15 years in Australia. We are a privately owned company, and we're looking after everything, essentially Australasia and the Pacific region. We have customers all across the industries and as well, or the public and private sector. So federal, state, local governments, we got multiple council shires, we have federal agencies using ELO, we have councils, healthcare, aeronautics. We are a proud provider for technical service request documentation system for, let's say, Qantas and Virgin Australia Regional Airlines. And that again is all over Australia. We're very strong in waste management, very strong in the primary industry, and of course we have as well a non-for-profit organization which we usually sponsor through licenses and professional services. The credibility of the company really was confirmed when we were invited and accepted by the Western Australian Local Government Association as a preferred vendor for records management, and I believe we are the only preferred vendor in that area. Nonetheless, as well, from a security perspective, Department of Defense, the CSIRO, and other Australia-wide and as well state-based panels, we are members. So that means as well, we will be able to handle any type of documents with regards to security classification. What you see from here as well is the scalability. Our smallest customer, not smallest, but let's say smallest in terms of ELO users, is most likely Tamala Park Regional Council in WA. And our largest customers are, for example, Monash Health with up to 1,000 users. So at the end of the day, you can use ELO as an entry point, or you can use ELO as well to run the entire business or the Shire with it. Significantly important is as well the speed of the deployment. Most recently, we went live with Junee Shire Council in New South Wales, where from start of the project to go live, we only needed about 18 days. So from that perspective, we can ensure everybody that there's an extremely high return on investment.
Today, I'm just going to introduce you to the Elo Client and the functionality for users that allow them to easily file documents whilst maintaining compliance for your organization. On my screen at the moment, I have the web client for Elo. This is in a Chrome browser, but it's compatible with the majority of browser applications like Internet Explorer and Firefox. When you log into the client, you're presented with the My Elo area, which has tiles to quickly access certain areas, and recently used documents, so I can go straight to a document that I'm working on from here. Along the top, we have functional areas, and then we have the menu button. So I'm just going to click on repository to show you the repository view. In this layout, we have the menu buttons and the ribbon of the menu. On the left, we have a repository folder structure. Now it's laid out like this to make it really easy for users, because they should be familiar with this layout like a shared drive, where they navigate and drill down to find documents stored in the appropriate location. In the middle area, we have a preview area, which will display the contents of a folder, or for a document, it'll display the preview of the document. On the right side, we have a collaboration area. This is where information about the document is stored, and people can actually add comments in here and collaborate on documents and also on individual files. The icons have been color-coded to make it easy for users to recognize where they can store documents. You can see the icon on here looks a bit like a filing cabinet drawer. In here is where we'll store our documents. The actual structure that we've used is a structure that conforms to the keywords for council. This structure can be easily implemented in the beginning, and then you can customize it as you need. This saves a lot on installation setup and time required for you to create your own BCS. So having a compliant BCS structure to begin with saves a lot of effort for everybody. Each file contains metadata. That metadata is information about how the file is stored, the file number, which is unique, security, classification, retention information, so how long that file is going to be kept for when it's closed. And we can also set permissions on individual files as well as at the folder level. Permissions can be synchronized from your existing Active Directory or LDAP user directory service, as well as single sign-on is supported. So for the installed application on the computers, that can be set to run and log in on startup based on the user's login credentials. Additionally, you can create shortcut areas and put them at the top of your ribbon. So here I've created one for training. This will take me directly to the training location and removes all the other folders. This is handy for when I'm working in a certain area and I don't need to worry about all the other repository structure. Bearing in mind, with the repository structure, users will only see containers that they have permission to see. If they don't have permission, it won't appear. It won't appear as a grayed out icon or a non-selectable icon. It just won't appear in this structure list. So the first thing I want to show you is just adding a document to the repository. So I'm just going to click into an empty file and simply drag and drop a document into the repository. When a user brings a document into the repository, they're presented with the keyword form. The keyword form is our terminology for the metadata form. The metadata form provides basic information about the document that's being stored. Now with ELO, it automatically populates as much of the metadata as possible. This reduces the amount of work that the user has to do. You can see here it's automatically captured the document title as the name of the file. This can still be modified at entry time or later date. Anything with a star symbolizes that it's a mandatory field. Here I'm choosing a document type. All of these selections are customizable for your organization. Everything else has been auto-populated. A unique document number has been created. This unique document number format can be changed or modified based on your own requirements. The document owner being the user that's logged in, and the file number is the file number that this document is being allocated to. So as you can see, everything is quite automated and the user has to do very minimal to add the document to the repository. Once the document's been added, within the client it's quite easy to see the document. So when we're viewing the repository, we don't have to necessarily check documents out or drag them out of the system to see what the document contains. The next thing I'm going to show you is adding an email to the repository. Again, it's as simple as dragging and dropping into the client. The metadata form or the keyword form automatically populates all required information. All I need to do is choose a document type. In this case, I'm choosing email, but it might be something different depending on the content of the email. Click OK, and the email is now filed. Not only is the email filed, but we can see that the attachment has been filed as well as an attachment within the email. So you can see it's easy for users to add documents into the system and for the records compliance task to be automated. Now that I've shown how to add documents, I want to show you how to search for information. So I'm going to click on the search area. And in here, I can just type in words that I want to search for. First, if I search for the word guide, you can see that the word guide appears in a lot of different documents. I can continue to add words to the search to reduce my search results. Additionally, you'll notice a bar. This bar represents the relevance of the search term. The more that the search term appears in the document, the higher the relevance is. Additionally, if the search term appears in part of the metadata of the document, it gets a higher relevance rating. If we have a look at the keywording of this form, you can see that the name invoice appears in the document title and in the short name, as well as within the document. Whereas in the next document, it doesn't appear in the keywording name information. We can further limit our search results by opting to not search within the document. If I take full text out of the search, then it's not looking for the word within the document. I've further reduced my search results to only documents that have the word invoice and guide in the metadata of the document. So we can see there in keywording, invoice appears and guide appears. The full text searching applies to all documents that are inserted into ELO. When a document is inserted into ELO, the text within the document is added to the repository. This means that you can search for words that not only appear in the metadata we've captured, but within the document itself. Additionally, it's easy for users to go to the repository location by right-clicking on the document and choosing Go To. Here it's taken me to the file that contains the document, and now I can see other documentation that might be related to what I was searching for. I'm now going to show you the installed Elo client. Before I start working in the installed client, I'd like to show you a side-by-side comparison of the web client to the installed client. As you can see, they're very similar. This makes it really easy for users when they need to work in the web client. For example, if they need to work from home on a BYOD device or remote device. It's limited training required because they have the same look and feel between the two environments. The advantage of the installed client is that it integrates into the Office suite of products. The installed client is available for macOS, Windows, and Linux, and again has the same look and feel for users. So let's take a look at the integration with the Office suite of products. I'm just going to create a new document in Word. Just going to add a line of text. Now, in the Office ribbon, you'll notice that you have a button for ELO and the ability to file the document directly to ELO. When I do that, I'm presented with the selection to choose where to store the document. Here I will choose the ELO webinar folder that we're using for this webinar and click OK. Again, I'm presented with a metadata form or the keyword form. Mandatory fields have a star and also colored red. I'm going to choose guide. And just like before, you can see that all the metadata that can be captured automatically is automatically completed. So here's a unique document number already assigned to it and the containing file number. Because I haven't saved this document yet, because it's a temporary file, the title may not be relevant. One thing that you may notice is that when we file a document into ELO, is that the short name has been converted. It is prefixed with the document type and the name of the document we gave it. The naming convention used can be customized for your own requirements. This is just an example of the way that we can customize documents that are stored in ELO. Additionally, it is quite easy for us to check out a document and edit it in Word. I do that by right-clicking on the document and choosing Checkout and Edit. Now I'm presented the document in Word. I'm just going to add a line to this so we can see the difference. I save my changes and I need to check the document back in. Note that while the document is checked out, it shows the user that has it checked out and nobody can edit it whilst I'm working on it. When I check it back in, I'm shown a screen about version control. Version control is on by default on all documents in ELO. When I add a new version of the document, the version number automatically increases. I can actually do minor and major version control numbering quite easily by changing it here. I can also add a comment. This helps other people in an organization understand why the document was edited. I can right-click on a document and choose document versions to see all the versions of a document. It shows me the date that the version was made, who made it, and any comments. Additionally, I can select a previous version to view an older version of the document. This is helpful in case a document has been edited and information lost in a newer version. When a document has been worked on and has been finalized, you may want to convert it to a PDF. Elo makes this easy for you to do by having the control within the client. Clicking on PDF conversion will convert this Word document to a PDF by opening the Word application and outputting it as a PDF. Now in the repository, the latest version of this document is a PDF. I've seen a lot of organizations lose Word documents that were the original creation of PDF. The advantage of having everything in Elo is that I still have my original Word document. So at a later date, I can go back to the Word document, edit the Word document, and then convert it back to a PDF. Now that we've seen how Word integrates with Elo, let's take a look at Outlook. Again, in Outlook, we have an Elo button. We can select an email and choose File to Elo. When we do this, again, we're presented with the folder selection. The folder selection will always take me to the last folder I was using. I also have a list of recently used, and I can save favorite areas as well. I'll choose the same location we've been working in. Again, I get a keyword form, and you can see it's automatically populated the document title with the subject of the email. Again, I will choose email, and you can see that it has been assigned a unique document number, and it contains the file number that it resides in. Additionally, in Outlook, the email has been prefixed in the subject field as ELO. This lets me know that I've filed this email to ELO already and prevents me from filing it again. If I try and file this email again, the button doesn't work. This is another great feature of the Elo product, duplicate document detection. One of the main things we try to do is minimize the amount of duplicate data and also the amount of duplicate source material. It's quite common to find users with different versions of documents. We try and minimize this with duplicate detection. Sometimes a PDF may be emailed to more than one person in the organization. If everybody filed the PDF, there'd be multiple copies of it in multiple areas. When I try and file a document, even if it's to a different area, Elo should detect that there's a duplicate. So here it knows that someone else has filed the PDF in a different area. I can create a reference which would actually link to the original object, but it won't let me store the document twice. This minimizes the amount of wasted space and also reduces the amount of different versions of documents in different locations, which is a big headache for shared drives. You can see here that I've added a reference to the PDF and not the PDF itself. It's indicated by a shortcut icon on the left. Multiple references can be stored within the repository, allowing users to link to the original source material without the source material being duplicated within the repository. Let's take a look at searching again. The interface is similar to the web client. We just enter in our search terms. You can see here I've used the word analytics, and it is showing me everywhere that the word analytics appears in the document. We have the relevance and a bar graph style so that we know the chance that this document relating to what we're looking for. Again, we can add words to this to reduce or increase the result set. So here, if I choose the word ELO, you can see that I have a lot of documents. Not just that, but I have some folders. If I change it just to documents, I'll have an even smaller list. And again, I can reduce that again by adding more text to it. Now I've chosen ELO and personnel, and I only have one document showing. Complex searches can also be exported. Additionally, I can save searches. This is very handy for complex search queries that you do regularly. And once I've saved, they appear as a favorite. I can also share favorite searches with other users as well. Another area in the client is the in tray. And the in tray is set up for scanning purposes. So users can have the MFD scanned directly into their ELO in tray. So when you scan a document, it will appear here. And this area allows users to do a bit of manipulation with their scanned document before it gets filed. So functionality like splitting up a PDF into separate pages, or even joining pages together. These functions would normally be found in a separately installed application, and they're just added as part of the ELO client. Make it really easy to get scanned documents into the system. Once I've prepped my scanned document, then I simply save it into ELO. Again, you can see it automatically coming up with my location that I last used, or any favorites that I may want to use. And again, it's very easy for the user because everything's filled out. All they need to do is choose a document type. And it's filed in the repository. So the main thing that we're trying to demonstrate is it's very easy for your users to be compliant in the records management system, and the software, whether it's installed locally on their computer or accessed remotely from a BYOD device, is the same interface for them to use, so that the training is very minimal and it's very easy for the users to pick up. Of course, once you've stored documents in there, you might want to distribute a document. Again, that's very easy for the users. There's buttons here that just allow me to click on send document, which will create an email, automatically set the subject up as the name of the document, attach the document to it, and I still have my signature and everything ready to go. When sending documents internally, users should use the sender's ELO link. Now, the link is basically a shortcut, but it's a shortcut to the document in the ELO system. So unless I'm logged in and I have rights to the document ELO, I'm not actually going to be able to open this document, which makes sure that everyone's conforming to the security policies. So to ensure that you're not sending documents to users that don't have permissions, it's better to send the link for that regard, but also minimizes the amount of space that's being stored in the email server, because here I'm sending just a shortcut, which is under 100 bytes, as opposed to 6 meg or 10 meg files around. So it helps reduce the amount of storage that you're wasting on your mail server as well. So in addition to the user functionality, the records management tasks are also built into the client, so that all the records management tasks are required to manage the system are in the same software. So we're not using a different application, or we're not remoting into a server or anything to make changes. So the first common task is creating a file or inserting multiple files into the system. So if I just create a new file, I'll just call it test for now. I can choose a file owner, and that's basically a person or a department that's responsible for this file in regards to whether it can be closed, whether it can be retained and or disposed of. Additionally, I can choose it to be a hybrid or a paper file. Obviously, some paper files still exist, and this records management system ensures that we can maintain paper files, where they're located, and also where they're moved around within an organization. You can see the file number has been automatically created, a unique file number. And again, that file number format can be customized based on what you prefer. The security classification by default is unclassified and can be changed. The retention disposal has been automatically completed based on the default that was assigned for this BCS container structure. So a default is assigned for each of the folders in your container classification, but you can also change that from the default. And then permissions, so we can set the permissions now or later as to who's allowed access to that file. And that's all, again, synchronized with your LDAP or Active Directory service. Because I chose insert files, I actually can add multiple files, which makes it quite easy rather than having to keep clicking backwards and forwards. But for now, I'll just create one file. So that's the main function. Creating a file is quite easy. And again, closing a file is just as easy as selecting that close file button in the records tab, choosing the date that you're closing and clicking OK. One thing I'd like to mention is that users who don't have permissions to records management tasks don't see this tab. So it's only the records managers who have permissions will see any of this functionality and the actual tab itself. When a file is closed, we can do other functions like reopen it or even dispose of it. A disposal report will give me a list of all closed files that are due for disposal, and then you can start a workflow to get authorization from the owner to dispose of that. We can also set up a legal hold in case there's a legal case that's been opened on a particular file. Then setting up a legal hold on it prevents it from being disposed of. It can't be changed. And then at some point when that legal case is finished, we can remove the legal hold. We can print file labels and storage labels for our paper files, as well as the storage contents. The RM configuration is a nice GUI interface that lets us change our BCS. So the structure of this BCS is defined and cannot be changed unless you're a records manager with permission to change the RM configuration. And then we have bulk updating of home location and current location for, again, physical or paper files that we want to move around in bulk. So that's it in a nutshell. I just wanted to show how easy it is for the users to stay compliant, whether they're working in the office or remotely at home or on a BYOD device, and how easy it is for record managers to open files and close files and manage the information within your organization while staying compliant for your regulations. Thank you very much.
Okay, Andrew, thank you very much. It was a little bit hard at the beginning, but I think we still all enjoyed what we have seen. So really for today, what we really wanted to do is to say how easy it is to stay compliant, whether you're at the office or whether you are at work. I think one of the success factors of ELO is obviously that it is easy to use. That does not necessarily mean there's much less work for the records managers, because obviously it still requires you records managers to look after the system, yet you will at least really becoming information managers, because people will be able to use the system in a way that allows them to be compliant without really being records managers themselves. We had a few questions, so if you don't mind, I'm just reading. So I was busy typing, so thank you for that as well. Let's go through some of those questions. So first question is, can we link documents? Yes, if you have filed a document, let's take an invoice, and you want to link that invoice to a purchase order or to a contract or something like this, that is relatively easy. There's a possibility to either link to one, so it's a one-on-one relationship, a one-to-many relationship. So let's say we have one invoice, but we have multiple goods received advices, or you can as well many-to-many. So of course, everything what we're doing always is based on the access rights for the individual users. Yes, you can do this. Can I create my own BCS and disposal authority? Yes, of course. I mean, what we've shown here just now was really based on the keyword for council, which are used by many councils and shires. Nonetheless, we have customers who have created their own BCS. ELO will provide you a tool where you can essentially set up your BCS, your disposal authorities, and then as well within ELO you can, as a records manager, as a skilled member of the information management group, you can then map the disposal authority to the respective business BCS. Can I match ELO records as paper locations? Yes. As you have seen earlier, Andrew showed something. When you're creating a record, you can define whether this file, when you're creating a file, you can actually define whether it is a purely for electronic records, whether it is a hybrid, or whether it is just for paper. One of our business partners, Grace, for example, is using ELO. They're a large paper storage company, a record storage company, and they're, for example, as well using and offering ELO together with the paper locations. I like this one. We have an old legacy trim system. Can we migrate to ELO? Yes, you can. Of course, you can, because this is exactly what we have done at Mindari Regional Council, where the trim upgrade was too expensive, so they decided to go with ELO, and therefore we have developed a migration framework to allow you either from a shared drive or from a legacy system to migrate to ELO. Does the PDF converter meet requirements for PDFA? Yes, it does. So when ELO converts a Word document or anything really into PDF, you can select as a default setting PDFA, which is obviously important when it comes to compliance. If our scanner does not support OCR, will ELO do this for us? Yes. So essentially what we are doing is we take every document into the system, and it doesn't really matter whether it's a JPEG, whether it's a PDF, whether it is a TIFF or a Word document, whatever it is. Every single document is undergoing optical character recognition. Only that way we can ensure that everybody can find documents not only by the metadata, how it has been put away, but as well by the content. Yeah. So that is very important. Nonetheless, it is important to say as well that everything is based on the access rights. So if you as a user theoretically would not have access to the document, then you won't have access to the document either, whether you're doing an OCR search or whether you do a search using metadata. Do we have staff in WA in Tasmania? Yes, of course, Andrew was there. We have as well staff and partners in Tasmania, so we are really Australia-wide. We have RecFind. Can we upgrade to ELO? Yes, similar to what we had with trim. or content manager, you can always upgrade to ELO. As I said before, we have developed a migration framework. It really depends a little bit on how the system has been set up, specifically the old trim 6, 7, we're fully under control, 8 fully under control. Then content manager got a little bit better, so it's actually a little bit easier even to migrate away from content manager. Can I create my own workflows? Yes. ELO was born really as a document management system, business process management system with workflow creation capability, embedded workflows, auto filing, and all these things. We in Australia have developed then the records management component that meets the Australian, or indeed pretty much the English-speaking countries' requirement. So on one hand, it is a records management system, but we see as well more and more of our councils and shires to use ELO for more than just record storage. So for example, again, Juni Shire Council, we are embedding an e-form so that the ratepayers, for example, can submit information based from a web site, and therefore that goes straight into ELO and an ELO workflow starts. Do we have to buy ELO or can we subscribe to it? Well, I prefer obviously that you buy it. Nonetheless, we see more and more of our customers saying, look, we really need a system, we want to be compliant, but we do not really want to spend the capital expenses. So therefore, every ELO system, every installation can be as well as a subscription. Yeah, we have, I don't want to say hundreds, but we have dozens of customers who opted to just go for a subscription. One of our business partners actually is only offering ELO as on a subscription base, which is really, really good. It is handy. It goes straight into P&L, so it doesn't go necessarily into the balance sheet. Advantages, of course, as well is customers can select whether they want to have the professional services for the rollout embedded in the subscription or not, whether they want to have regular support embedded in the subscription or not. And we have recently as well launched record as a service. So that means as well we can take ELO, put this into the cloud, so that potentially multiple councils and shires can share the cost of a single installation while they're still separated when it comes to the individual data. Do I need to use Sharepoint, RecordPoint as my records management system when I have ELO? No, you don't. We as ELO can integrate with Sharepoint. We have a very, very sophisticated SharePoint integration, which allows as well the Microsoft or MS365 integration. So if you have ELO, you don't need RecordPoint, very simple. If you have SharePoint, you don't need RecordPoint because ELO gives you significantly more functionality. So it's not just like RecordPoint doing records management. With ELO, you have the benefits of SharePoint and you have the benefits as well of the business process solution ELO. And then there were a few other questions where I didn't have enough time to write this down during the session. Do we have a mobile phone client? Yes, that is actually quite interesting. There has been a major change in the behavior from some of our customers. So a lot of people, specifically on council, they have people, they are actually not working at the office. They are out and about. If they want to search documents, they can essentially just use their iPhone or an Android phone, log on straight into the ELO system and find documents. So it is really, really handy, specifically when we look at a customer such as Midwestern Regional Council here in New South Wales. The guys, I think it was a gardener or something like this, engaged by the council, needed to look up specific drawings, they put actually the drawings into ELO, and they could see exactly where the water pipes were and all these things. Now, if you ask me whether I can identify a big drawing on my mobile phone, no, I don't. But I think in their case, it was important to see that there was actually something in that area. So from that perspective, you can use ELO from home, at the office, or even when you're outside using the mobile phone client. Pricing, relatively straightforward. We have specifically with the Western Australian Local Government Association, we have agreed on a pricing for the entire association. So from that perspective, obviously the quantity reduces then as well the individual cost. And if you go really down to this, and we're talking really about in many cases records management at $1 a day per user. So from that perspective, and that is inclusive of all the training and so on. Cloud-wise, you can select whether you want to have ELO on-prem or whether you want to have ELO in the cloud with various cloud providers, or you can as well choose your own. We have some conglomerates of groups of council shires and companies that can find, hey, I can share one cloud environment to ensure that my costs are as low as possible. So therefore, the entire system gives you the flexibility you require to run your administrative areas. With a team of support in WA and as well consultant in WA, we will be able to help everybody out there. And as well, if you have records managers on site, the deployment is extremely fast. So we can do it possibly within 15 days. It really depends as well on what you can provide us with regards to the BCS and the disposal authorities. We prefer train the trainer. So we will train you so that you can train the users how to use the system. We are offering webinars. We are offering, we are offering as well videos for training and all these things. So I think without further ado, I really like to thank all of you. Apologies again for the hiccup at the beginning. Within the next 2 days, you will get the link to the recording. By then, hopefully, we have as well fine-tuned all the subtitles. So it is really, really important that we support all those people who may be hearing impaired. So thank you very much for the time today, and I'm looking forward catching up with you. And if you have any questions, you got our email address. It is info@elodigital.com.au, or you can contact me directly or Andrew. So thank you very much, and I wish you a wonderful day, and please stay safe, stay well. Thank you.